Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a first look plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Ace 15.1 in the black, white, and solar yellow colorway. Now inside the box they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes. The string bag is solar yellow and black on the front with that same pattern you're going to find on the shoes themselves. Has solar yellow strings. You have your Ace logo in white as well as your Adidas football branding in white on the front of the bag, while the back is left completely blank, solid black. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the Ace 15.1 from Adidas. This, of course, is the synthetic variation of the shoe. There is a leather model as well that I plan on getting in as soon as possible, so stay tuned for that. Basically, what we're going to be going over in today's video is all the tech specs, how these things fit, how they feel, and really everything you could possibly want to know about the brand new Ace 15.1 from Adidas. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you guys are perhaps interested in pre-ordering a pair of these for yourself, the retail price is $220 US. You can check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you will be able to pick these up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all the tech specs and talk about what the Ace 15.1 has to offer from a performance standpoint. Now, in comparison to the older models that have since been discontinued from Adidas, I think that the Ace 15.1, especially in the synthetic upper variation, is definitely the most predator-like of all the new models. With that being said, there aren't actually any rubber elements on this particular shoe, which is a very non-predator thing to have. So while it looks the most like a predator, it isn't actually going to feel or perform like a predator whatsoever, which I think is a big misconception just based on the pictures, because a lot of people are under the impression that all of this black area on the upper is actually rubberized and grippy, and that's not actually the case. So to start things off, let's talk about the upper. This features their brand new control web system, which they describe as a 3D kicking surface, and that's essentially all of the black that you see on the upper, essentially from the midfoot forward. So kind of, I guess the middle of the shoe, if you were to split the shoe into thirds, the second third forward, all of this features that control web material, and it's very, very difficult to describe. Obviously, it does have the little cutouts to it with a mesh base layer that we'll take a closer look at in just a second, which reminds me a lot of this guy right here, the Nike Magista Opus, that features a performance mesh base layer and a Kangolite synthetic on top, with obviously all the cutouts. But I can assure you that the Opus and the Ace 15 are actually quite different in terms of the materials that have been implemented here. This control web material is what I would describe as either a soft plastic or a hard foam. It's really, really unusual, and it has some good thickness to it. As you guys can see, there's a lot of texture to the surface of this upper, which is why they call it a 3D kicking area. Will you notice all of that texture when you're actually kicking the ball and making contact with the ball? Most likely not. It kind of will just feel like a completely smooth surface. But to the touch and in terms of just how it looks, it has a very, very modern kind of interesting style about it. Now, as far as the material itself is concerned, like I mentioned, it does have a decent thickness to it, and it is slightly cushioned as well. So when you are making contact with the ball, you can expect the shoe to feel very pingy, but at the same time have a slightly cushioned sensation. It's not as soft as memory foam or anything like that, but it's got this firm softness about it, if that makes any sense, that really separates this shoe from any other synthetic model currently on the market. It is definitely very, very unique, and I'm excited to actually try it out. So you have that same synthetic material going across the entire upper as well as the lower portion of the tongue, as you guys can see. As far as other elements that you're going to find on the upper, there are those little tiny dots, the non-stop grip element that Adidas likes to call it. You're also going to find that on the Ace 15.1 that you guys saw in my video very recently. I will say that on the Ace 15.1, the actual dots themselves are a lot more noticeable, whereas on the Ace 15.1, it feels more kind of part of the actual upper itself, and that's because the actual control web material has more of a matte finish to it, which makes it quite slick, and then you get that little bit of added grip and texture from the actual dots that are scattered across all the black portions of the upper that, like I said, just don't feel quite as significant as what you're going to find on the X 15.1. if that makes any sense. It's kind of Adidas's variation of ACC, all conditions control from Nike. It's supposed to provide better grip on the ball in both wet as well as dry playing conditions. I haven't used it yet, so I can't comment too much in regards to how it actually feels on the Ace 15.1, but I can tell you that it's not quite as noticeable a feature on the Ace model as it is on the X model. You are also going to find the Adidas stripes are made from that same material, but they have a slightly different texturing to it, not only for aesthetic reasons, but also just to maintain a good amount of consistent grip on the ball, even in the areas that have the stripes, as opposed to this kind of interesting triangular and circle cutout pattern that kind of varies as you go across the entire shoe. You do have an off-centered lacing system, as you guys can see. I'll give you guys a quick look at the inside of the shoe as well, because like I mentioned, it is only a single layer of this control web material on top, and then kind of a nylon mesh layer lining the inside of the shoe. Now I know this raises a lot of concerns as far as water resistance is concerned. From what I can tell, there seems to be some kind of a covering on the inside of the actual nylon material. So I think what they've done is they've actually covered up the inside layer of the nylon and then left it completely exposed here on the inside of the shoe, if that makes any sense. So from what I could tell, the water is not actually going to seep through these holes whatsoever because they're technically sealed, as opposed to being left as open mesh like you're going to find on the Magista Opus. So if that's something that was concerning you, just know that all of these little gaps that appear to be open are actually sealed on the shoe. And as you guys can see on the tongue, it is completely sealed, no question about it. As far as the rest of the upper is concerned, from the midfoot back, you're going to find this much cheaper synthetic material that I'm personally not a big fan of in terms of just the quality as well as how it looks. It just seems cheap to me, especially on the tongue here. You can see it transitions from the standard control web material into this kind of cheap, almost laminated type of material that is just kind of a thick layer of foam. It's a type of material you would expect to find on a very low-end shoe, not a $200 plus model from Adidas. And while I don't think it's going to have any major impact on performance, I just wish they would have used something a little bit more premium, a little bit thinner, and just something more aesthetically pleasing than what they've used here at the rear of the shoe. But again, not too big of a deal, and we'll see how it does actually perform in the long run. As far as the rear portion of the shoe is concerned, you do have an external heel counter. This is part of what they call their control fit system, which is supposed to allow for a better fit in the heel. There's nothing that seems particularly special about the heel area of the shoe in regards to fit, just based on me trying it on. So that's one of those more gimmicky things. I can tell you that they fit well and they're comfortable to wear, but again, there's nothing particularly special about the fit in the rear portion of the shoe in regards to the Ace 15. You have some extra padding here on either side of the ankle, which is nice. You have a fairly high back and a fairly high cut on either side as well, so it's going to have a deeper fit in the heel, giving you a nice locked-in sensation. You do have a smooth synthetic liner that is fairly slick to the touch, but no major concerns there, something we have seen before from Adidas, of course. And then you do have an external heel counter as well that's there to allow for extra protection, which is really nice, as well as to prevent your heel from sliding side to side once it is locked in place inside the shoe. The insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a mesh liner on top, some perforation through the midfoot and forefoot area, and it's just made from a single layer of a fairly thin foam, a little bit thinner than what you're going to find on the X model, but certainly cushioned enough to provide a nice underfoot cushion sensation. And really, I don't have any issues with this insole from right out of the box. Feels comfortable enough. Moving on to the bottom of the shoe, because this is particularly interesting, you're going to find what they call their ground control system, or their new FGAG stud pattern. And in comparison to the X model, the Ace 15.1 is a lot different and a lot more logical in terms of a stud pattern that looks like it could be used on both firm ground as well as artificial grass. Now, firm ground being a natural grass playing surface, AG being an artificial grass playing surface. Normally you would need two separate pairs of shoes with two separate soles and stud patterns to not only have optimal performance, but also to be as safe as possible, as well as get the best durability out of your footwear. Shoes are normally made for one specific playing surface. In the case of all the new Adidas silos, they're made for both firm natural grass as well as artificial grass, which is very interesting. And as you guys can see here with the Ace 15.1, it definitely does have the vibe of kind of an FGAG combination stud pattern. The sole plate itself is significantly thinner and more flexible than what you're going to find on the X model, which I thought was particularly interesting. I was expecting these to be a little bit thicker, so it is fairly thin and flexible, which is definitely not a bad thing. And then you're going to find in the forefoot your 6 main conical studs that are long enough to perform well on firm natural grass. They're not going to be particularly aggressive as far as grip is concerned, but they're also short enough to seem like they would actually work well on artificial grass as well. And because they are conical in shape, you're not going to have any issues with cling or just being stuck in the ground when your foot is actually planted on an AG field, which is often the case with most firm ground stud patterns. You're also going to find 4 more of those full-size conical studs in the heel, which is a pretty straightforward setup. Now, running through the middle of the shoe, both in the forefoot, the toe area, as well as the midfoot, are these small little extra studs that kind of fill in all of the gaps. You can see they're in between here along the edges as well. That really does make this look like more of an AG stud pattern than an FG stud pattern. It's not going to hurt performance on firm natural grass at all, but on artificial grass, especially when the field does get very, very hot, you're going to want those extra studs supporting the middle of your feet, providing all that little grip. You're going to get all these little studs digging in at one time, and because they're all conical in shape, you're not going to be restricted as far as your maneuverability is concerned once your foot is actually planted. You're not going to be stuck in the ground, which is really important from a performance standpoint as well as a safety standpoint. Now, as far as how the shoe is actually going to hold up on artificial grass, that is yet to be seen. Of course, I will follow up with more on that once I get some more testing time in these things, but overall, pretty optimistic about this particular stud pattern. It's not going to be super aggressive on firm natural grass, but I think that the performance as far as traction goes on artificial grass is going to be very, very good with the Ace 15.1. I really like the little studs here going across the very tip of the sole plate. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let the camera focus. It's not cooperating. There it goes. You can see all these little studs right here at the tip, which I think is a pretty cool little feature. And again, they're in between all the studs as well. Very cool sole plate, looks the part. Hopefully it performs the part as well. And that's pretty much it as far as what the Ace 15.1 has to offer from a performance standpoint. I'm very optimistic. It's a very interesting shoe. There's a lot of kind of all new, never been done before elements about this particular shoe that I can't wait to try out. And that's pretty much it as far as performance is concerned. We'll move on next to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. As far as weight is concerned, I thought we'd compare the weight of the Ace 15.1 to that of the Predator Instinct, since the Ace 15 is more or less the replacement for the Predator line. So I'm going to weigh them both in real time using the scale. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. So this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the Preds, throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.5 ounces, the equivalent of 270 grams. Not necessarily lightweight, but not necessarily heavy either. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Ace 15.1, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.1 ounces, so 0.4 ounces less. That is the equivalent of 257 grams. So you're talking about a 13 gram weight difference between these two shoes. That is very, very minor. There's not a really noticeable difference when you're holding these two shoes in your hands or when you're wearing them on your feet. So for the most part, if you're looking for a lightweight feel, the Ace 15.1 is not necessarily going to offer that. With that being said, it's a comfortable shoe with a good fit and a nice solid feel on your feet. And if that's more important to you than having a very lightweight sensation, then you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever with the Ace 15.1 or the Predator Instinct for that matter. As far as the aesthetics of the shoe are concerned, I think the Ace 15.1 is a pretty good looking shoe. Obviously this is the launch colorway that features a combination of black, solar yellow, and white as an accent color. And overall, I think it looks pretty good. You're obviously going to have black in the control web as well as the laces. And with all those cutouts, that gives the shoe a very modern styling. You reveal the solar yellow lining material on the inside of the shoe, which I think is a pretty cool little detail. The one aspect of the shoe that I'm not crazy about is the solar yellow at the heel, not so much because of the color, but more so because of the material that they've actually used here. It's a very shiny kind of plasticky-like material, and that's not to say that it looks bad, but something like this, in my opinion, just looks cheaper than it needs to be. I think if they use something with a matte finish, or just something a little bit less shiny in general, I think the shoe would have looked a lot better, but again, that's really just nitpicking, and overall, I think the design looks pretty good. Obviously, you're going to have the Adidas stripes on both the lateral and medial side in white, as well as your Ace logo right there on the tongue. I like that on the lateral side, the Adidas stripes go from the upper, they transition onto the sole plate, and you can see the stripes go all the way through. But then for some reason, they don't continue here on the medial side. You just have this little black bar that doesn't necessarily need to be there because they could have just lined it up and continued the Adidas stripes all the way around the shoe. Again, kind of a nitpicky little element, but something that I did immediately notice upon kind of closer inspection. You can see the sole plate is mostly black. I like that they have this little extra detail kind of surrounding the 6 main studs on the shoe. I thought that was a neat little thing. And then of course the heel area is solid neon yellow in color, which overall looks good. I like that you have kind of a two-tone appearance to the shoe, and that the front is black, the back portion is neon yellow, and then of course you have the white and neon yellow accents throughout the entire shoe as well. And overall, I just think it's a pretty good looking design. No major complaints here whatsoever. Out of the entire lineup of Adidas shoes, there are 3 new silos. I think the Ace line is the best looking in my opinion, but let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to a quick on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the Ace 15.1s on feet. On my left foot I have the stock black laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of the black and neon yellow speckled SR4U replacement laces. These are brand new, they just came out, they're available in a couple different colorways. And if you guys are interested in any SR4U laces for yourself, check out the website www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're very comfortable from right out of the box, which seems to be a trend with all of the new Adidas models that I've tried so far. Really no break-in period is going to be required with these based on what I can tell so far. They're very comfortable, nice and smooth across the entire inside of the shoe. They feel totally seamless, and it's just a very, very comfortable shoe from the get-go. You have that control web upper that has some nice softness and flexibility to it, and that's kind of to be expected because obviously it does have all of these cutouts scattered across all of the materials, so there's really no reason for it to feel stiff at all, which it does not. And the fit in the heel, it does have a deeper fit. It's very comfortable. Your heel feels like it's secured and locked in place when you pull the laces tight. And again, I just have no complaints at all regarding the fit and feel of this shoe from right out of the box. The sole plate is nice and flexible, nothing feels stiff, nothing feels uncomfortable, they feel just right. In comparison to Adidas's older models, I would say that this does compare most closely to something like the Predator Instinct in terms of the overall shape of the shoe. It does have a good amount of width to it, which means that it's going to be suitable for just about everybody. If you generally struggle with the width of your shoes and you just need something that's going to stretch a lot, I don't think these are going to stretch very much. You may want to stick to something with a leather upper, but even if you do have slightly wider feet, you don't normally have any issues with synthetic shoes, you shouldn't have any issues with the Ace 15.1 whatsoever. They're going to be suitable for just about anybody. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Alright guys, that's it for my first impressions of the new Ace 15.1. Can't wait to try these out, and of course I'll be following up with more coverage on this shoe as well as the rest of the new Adidas lineup very soon on the channel, so stay tuned for that if you are interested in more content on these shoes. In the meantime, if you guys are interested in a pair of these for yourself, check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you will be able to pick these guys up below their normal $220 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. If you guys have any questions or suggestions regarding the new Ace 15.1, leave them down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.